Hi, I'm Torey. I'm the Hashcode Program Manager based in San Francisco, California. I'm here to talk with Michal, who originally proposed this year's Hashcode World Finals problem, to talk a little bit about problem development for Hashcode. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Torey. My name is Michal, and I work for engineering productivity for YouTube in Google Zurich. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Why don't you tell us about your connection to Hashcode and how you got involved in the competition?
Sure. So I started with Hashcode in 2015 when I was still in Paris office, and Hashcode was still targeting France. First, I tried to help with problem preparation by trying to solve the problem and making sure that it's challenging enough. Then I moved a little bit towards setting the problem, actually, like determining what the problem should be, developing the data sets, but also I help to load test the judge system so that when everybody tries to submit their solution on the last minute, the system doesn't melt.
It's great to hear that you've been involved in Hashcode for so long. Let's kick off by talking about this year's problem, which dealt with software engineering. What inspired this problem, and why do you think it's an interesting problem?
Yeah, so I had two inspirations for this problem. One is my day-to-day work. I'm a software engineer in engineering productivity, which means that I develop tools for other engineers to be more productive, to be able to efficiently implement features for the users. So I kind of knew that this was an interesting area. The second inspiration is the Software Engineering at Google book, which basically describes some of the best practices that Google found for developing software. So I think that this is an interesting problem because it has this aspect that is often overlooked in software engineering, where like at Google scale, the problem is not only that there's many users, but there's also many developers who have to work together without actually understanding the whole system, because the system is too complex for one person to understand. So you have to be able to contribute to the system without understanding it, but also without getting into the way of other engineers. So that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, I think that it's a really interesting problem. And I love that it's inspired not only by daily software engineering work, but also by this book that talks about best practices. So I think it's a really great connection to, a Hashcode problem, but also the work that we actually do day to day at Google with developing software at scale. What makes this problem different from previous year's problems?
So I think that this problem focuses a little bit on how the software is made and not necessarily what is the end result. So we are not focusing on a particular Google product, but we are focusing on the development process itself. So this is different from past years, but it's also similar to the past problems because we want to kind of keep the hash code formula. Even though each year we try to improve it based on the feedback from the contestants.
Yeah, I think that it's a really cool twist this year on this problem because, like you said, it's not focusing on the end result; it's focusing on sort of the journey and how you solve this problem. How is a problem statement developed for Hashcode?
Yeah, so for this one, I started with the theme. So as I said, from my day-to-day work, I knew that this is an interesting problem and a challenging one. So I tried to put it into the hash code formula, which means that I had to basically remove everything to keep only the essence of the problem while still keeping it realistic enough. So once I had an idea how to do it, I wrote a proposal. And then with the Hashcode team, we decided this would be a good task for the finals. And since that point, basically the process becomes a much more collaborative. So there will be many people commenting on the problems and trying to figure out what is the best way to explain it, trying to come up with some modifications to the problem statement to make it either easier to understand or more fun to solve. or we were discussing some ideas, some twists to make it more challenging if we need to. For example, one of those twists would be that we wanted the engineers to become less productive if they didn't watch YouTube videos for a long time. So eventually, it didn't make it to the final statement, but it was a fun idea to consider. And there would be many people involved in problem preparation.
Sounds like a really iterative process, and I love that it really centers on collaboration. I also think it's really fascinating hearing about the parts of the problem that were proposed but didn't actually make it into the problem. Can you break down the actual problem statement for us?
Sure. So as the finalists probably already know, the problem consists of Google engineers trying to implement features for the users. And features are implemented in services, which in turn are grouped into binaries. And the essence of the problem is that when you're working on services, it's easier to work on services that are related, that are grouped together in one binary. But on the other hand, if there are many engineers working on the same binary, they will get in each other's way. And they will slow each other down. So you need to balance kind of one engineer being more productive, or the whole organization being productive as a whole. And you can choose the order in which the features are implemented, or you can move the services around. So there are some options to make that happen. And I think it's a pretty fun problem. So if anybody wants to give it a try, we will open an extended round, and you can try solving the problem.
Thanks so much for giving us a little insight, Michal, into how this year's World Finals problem was developed. As Michal said, if you are a participant in Hashcode, you can try this out on the judge system and the extended round if it's still available. If it's not, feel free to go to g.co/hashcode and check out our problem in the archive. We hope to see you next Hashcode. Bye.
Bye.